So this is the inverter that I bought. It's a 48 volt, 4000 watt maximum. It's a high frequency budget inverter made in China. And this is actually the second one that I bought. I bought one a year ago and it hasn't given me any problem. It runs the whole place. Um, so for redundancy, I decided that I don't have a generator or there's no grid tie, that I'm going to build a second solar system, and I bought a second inverter. I'm just going to get another battery and put enough panels on it so that I'll have backup power in the event of some sort of component failure or just low batteries. And I didn't really want to go with a high cost split phase system, although I could easily wire it. It's just not, I'm not into balancing two 3000 watt legs. So this is the inverter in the box that it came in. User manual on top. That's the wired remote display in a bag with the cable. I think there's 16 feet of cable maybe. My first complaint was the box. Um, Although that box is structurally capable of protecting the inverter, it's butt ugly. And there's supposed to be an outer box, a sleeve that it's packed inside of. And it's ugly too, if you actually see one, and we will see one at the end. Um, so I don't know why I'm only getting the inner boxes and not the outer. I don't know if it's old stock, something that Amazon's doing, the vendor, uh, you know, Trump sanctions. I don't know what it is. But I do know that I've had no problem with the inverter I bought, and that when I needed any kind of customer service or even warranty, uh, I haven't had a failure, but I have had a remote display replaced. And I actually got an entire inverter from them because I showed that the output voltage was outside of the plus or minus 5% specification. They just sent me another inverter. So if you can find somebody that's got better warranty than that on any spot on this planet, then, you win. Because I can't find anybody that's got that kind of customer support and warranty. 24 hours during the week, during working days, they'll get right back to you on an email. And I've had two freebies under warranty, so that's how good they are. So if they treat you anywhere as near as good as they do me, um, it's a damn good company to deal with. And I'm not sponsored by this company. I haven't even mentioned their name yet. We'll make fun of their name later. So this is the front of the unit. We've got, in the upper right hand corner, you can see the actual yellow color. This thing is painted like, what do you call that stuff? Powder coat. Like, it's a beautiful paint job on it. Even the yellow part, which is just one color. The blue is a speckled paint. So anyway, display on the front there, we'll talk more about that later. Two AC outlets, I don't use them. I wire direct with the AC output, line and neutral. That goes to my transfer switch. We got a power switch there with two lights above it. We can talk about them more later. The USB outlets are power delivery ports. And when I plug my Samsung phone into that USB-C, it says that it's super fast charging. So this is the rear. That fan is massive, and it's not just big, it's quality, because the fan is actually reasonably quiet, but all you hear really is just the rush of air coming out of the back of this thing. This being the 48 volt version only has the two terminals. The 12 volt version of the 4000 watt inverter has four terminals due to the insane amperage you would have to run from 12 volts. And I'm going to show you a little bit of that too. I'm going to provide links to a couple of reviews, one for the 48 volt one and one for the 24 volt one, which you'll actually get to see inside of it. So I'm not reviewing this inverter, and I'm not suggesting that you would want one. It just happens to be what I want. This is the bottom. So the bottom is that aluminum or alloy or whatever it is. You can see that it's designed for cooling, and obviously they didn't do this for looks, right? You're not going to see the bottom of the inverter. It's sitting on it. So I think they put a fair amount of effort into making this thing actually capable of delivering the maximum rated power, at least for a short period of time, and keep it cool without cooking itself. And we're going to see some of that in these reviews, because they actually push the inverter, the 12 volt one, to 3,850 watts or something like that, and they hold it there. It's not just touched on it. They rang the crap right out of it. And it didn't blow up. So this is the front, and it's actually the front of my original one, the one that's a year old. You can tell by the dust. And it has no ground terminal underneath the remote cable socket there. Both lights you could see above the power switch. The power light's on and the fault light's off. If I turn it off with the remote, both lights are on to let you know it's in standby mode, and the USB charging ports still work in standby mode. I'll talk more about the actual what's on the display in the next frame, I believe. You can see this here is hardwired. This one's been in service for a year. And both inverters get hardwired into a transfer switch, and I can simply flip from main power to backup power, and I don't lose power if I'm have a fault or if I'm just doing some service work on one system. So there's the two inverters side by side. The right hand one is the year-old one, and it's on, so main power is functional. That's my Samsung phone. It could be plugged into either one, I'm not sure. Both of them are working as far as the USBs. You can see the one on the left, that's the new one. If you look closely, you'll see both of those lights are on, the blue and the red. The switch is on, but I've turned the inverter off via the remote. So, and that's why you have this one in standby mode, because I turned it off with the remote. And that's why the USB still work. So I like my older one better, because the new one has updated firmware, and that ramps up the voltage, soft start they call it, and it also seems to have a harder time maintaining the voltage when you're putting loads on and off, right? That's how I got an inverter for free. I complained about it and they gave me a new one. So 52 volts, that's never accurate from what I've seen, and it's actually 52.9. So my 48 volt inverters read almost 1 volt low. The 122 volts going out, you'll find that's pretty accurate. The battery meter and the pure sine wave and all that stuff just, and the sunshine thing there, that's just to look at. The sunshine will turn to an unhappy face if you got a fault. The 0 watts, that's never accurate. You have to hit about 65 watts before it recognizes it. About 1.5 amps before you get that to turn on. And I'm not sure about the temperature. Here's a shot of the new one. It's installed, and it was convenient for me to route the cable straight down, and that's probably going to change, but for now, I can't put the end caps on with the cables in that orientation because there's no holes for the cable to come out through. If I were to shave off a spot for the cable to come out through, the end caps might not lock in place anymore and they'll just fall off and won't be any use to me. What I took this picture for was, if you look at that center bottom yellow spot right below the fan, you can actually see a reflection of the fan grill in that paint. That's how nice that paint actually looks. And you can see the blue speckled actually is quite pretty under the right light conditions. So here we've got uh, the new inverter, and it's definitely the new one because it's got the stud sticking out. Um, and all the stuff that comes with it. So you've got a wired remote, and I think it's 16 feet of cable. You've got that wireless remote that looks like a detonator from Maxwell Smart era. And then there's the red and yellow wire below it that goes to the ground terminal. And then you've got your power cables, negative and positive, which are 16 millimeters square, pure copper, and even the lugs on the end are copper. I filed off that chrome stuff so I could see the copper underneath. I don't use those wires for this inverter because I find they're a little small. They're probably good for 60, 70 amps, maybe 3,000 watts. I use 2 gauge copper wire. And I actually use those nearly 5 gauge 16 millimeter square one. I use them for my solar charge controllers. So now we're looking at the butt end of the inverter here, and it's the name we're looking at. MWXNE. Boy, that's a mouthful. What a handle. So if you want to market something in the Wild West here, or even in Europe for that matter, you might try something simple like cougar, fox, black swan. I don't care. But 5-letter acronym doesn't work as well in the West as it does in China. So, and it's hard, if it was like special weapons and tactics, SWAT, we could work with that. But MWXNE, I mean, how do you even communicate or remember it? MICKEY, MWXNE, Mickey Moexene, yeah. So anyway, the sine wave, when at idle, is perfect on these machines. I'm quite impressed with it. That's actually my 12 volt 3000 watt one, I think, there, that the sine wave is being pulled from. I've got one of those $50 digital oscilloscopes from Amazon. And you'll see one of those in one of these reviews too. So 123.2 volts RMS, nothing wrong with that. 59 hertz, I would say it's usually 59.9, like 60 hertz. It's pretty damn accurate when it comes to the output voltage, the frequency, and the sine wave. I got no complaint with. The output voltage is a little loosey-goosey on the newer ones compared to the older ones. I know what it is. It's the firmware updates, but not crazy about it myself. But what can you do? Get what you don't always get what you pay for. But in this case, I think I got a good deal. This shot here comes from John the Head Smasher, and he did a review, an unpaid for review. He had nothing to do with this company. It was a friend's inverter. And he just tortured the poor thing. And there's Kira, the bread lady, and she was the one using all the power, cooking treats and stuff. And they ran everything through that Ford little inverter. And that's the 12 volt one. So the cables were just screaming hot. This here picture is of the outer box that I haven't been getting for some reason. Again, not really sure why. I did on my very first one years ago. Or 1 year ago. And there's the inner box, and that's what I've been getting, just the inner box. And I'm lucky to get 2 straps. But the boxes and all the stuffing really protects the inverter, so they don't have a scratch on them when I get them. And he ran his over 3,000 watts, and I've actually run mine 3,300 watts, I think. So anyway, I'll put some links in the comments.